Hi everyone, my name is Grizz, and I'm a new VTuber on the scene. I've only been doing it now for about 4 months. And today I wanted to talk about entitlement and humility. And in my opinion, they're really, in some ways, two sides of the same coin. I don't want to talk about that and start a discussion with you guys here today. As I said, I'm a new VTuber. I stream on Twitch. I've been doing it for about 4 months, and I have this really cool model, as you can see. I'm a mage and alchemist, and a lot of other things, but I like to stream video games on Twitch and just have fun, chat with people. But here specifically, I want to start something new with my YouTube channel, and this will be the first video in hopefully a long-running thing that I'll be doing. And I want to use this platform on YouTube in a different way than I use my platform on Twitch. Here on YouTube, I want to talk about life, speak from the heart, and share some stories from my life. I'm not the oldest guy on the block, but I am in my mid-30s, and I feel like I've lived a whole lifetime in just 30 plus years. I've lived alone since I was 18. I've traveled literally the world, lived in countless states in the United States, spent a little bit of time living overseas, and I've experienced a lot. And the reason I want to bring up this topic on humility and entitlement is because as I'm becoming a part of the VTuber scene, I'm delving into social media, specifically X or Twitter as most people still call it. And I can't help but be drawn in sometimes to watch the drama from a distance. I don't want to get involved in it. And I don't plan on speaking really on it or on individuals other than to say I've noticed that there's a lot of people who, in my opinion, seem to think that they're entitled to success. And in some ways, I get it. Because I was extremely entitled, I admit. I hate to admit it, but it's the truth. I was extremely entitled when I was younger, growing up. See, when I was in college in my 20s, or I guess I would have been 21 exactly, because I volunteered, I applied to be a student lobbyist for my university when I was 21. And I was interviewed and chosen as one of, I don't know, 10 or some people. It's been so long, I can't even remember the details now. But see, when I was 21, I was a political lobbyist, and please don't take this as me trying to say I'm cool, because to be quite honest, I really didn't do anything. I don't think I really had any notable accomplishments other than meeting a lot of people who, smiled in front of my face and, didn't get any results other than I do specifically remember one instance where me and a couple other people from my university had lunch at this fancy restaurant in the state capital where I lived. And I remember thinking I was so cool because I drank a Coke and rum for lunch with this state representative. And it was all paid for by the university. I didn't have to pay anything. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. And throughout my life, I've had the privilege of being wined and dined, so to speak. Uh, See, after college, I had a very short 4 year career, professional career, as a journalist. And as a journalist, you are also privileged in the sense that you get to meet with people and do things that normal, so called normal people in the public are not able to do. You know, of course, as a journalist, I interviewed many government officials, both federal and state level. Uh, just off the top of my head, some of the notable people I got to meet and interview included T. Boone Pickens, the very famous oil magnate. He donated money to one of the high schools where I lived in southeastern New Mexico. And I got to, he flew on his private jet to the town where I was living and working. And he met with the students, gave a really inspiring speech, and also announced that he was giving away scholarship money to all these kids. See, the high school is also very privileged. Again, see this theme of entitlement. It keeps coming up, and as I continue my story, you'll keep seeing this theme of privilege also and entitlement. Not to say that people who are privileged are also entitled, but sometimes they do overlap a little bit. So he gave this amazing inspirational speech to the kids, gave money to the kids, and then I got to interview him for a brief period of time, and I got a really cool photo of him. And then a couple of years later, I believe after I interviewed him, he passed away. I also got to meet and interview the U.S. Department of Energy Secretary Ernest Moniz at the time, Ernest Moniz, who was appointed by Obama during the Obama presidency. He came to the city where I worked for a reason. I won't get into details at this point in time. If any of you are interested, maybe I'll talk about it in the future. But I got to meet him, and that was cool. I also did some other really cool things, like I got a free tour of the Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico. Yes, okay, I said it. I'm from New Mexico. I don't live there anymore, but I'm from New Mexico, and most of this story so far took place in different areas of New Mexico. Currently, I'm also very privileged to work for a very good company with good people, and a company that will send me occasionally on the road to travel, and I've the company pays for all of it, and it's really awesome. And I'm privileged. I'm thankful, though. I've grown and matured. Getting back to the original point, when I was 21, I thought I was cool. I was entitled. I mean, shoot. When you're drinking a Coke and rum for lunch at the age of 21, meeting with these political people, you think you're awesome. You're on top of the world. And I mean, I had every bit of expectation that, my life was just getting started and it was all uphill, like, shit, if life is this good at the age of 21, imagine how amazing my life would be at 30. I mean, it's got to just continue to go up from there, right? Well, unfortunately, That's not how life goes. In fact, at the age of 30, I had a very, very brief stint of homelessness and obvious desperation. I didn't have a job. I picked up the first job I could find, which was actually not that bad. It could have been a lot worse, but I worked overnights unloading trucks at a Home Depot, and I would start my shift unloading trucks, and then we would unload trucks as a team, and then each of us were assigned to different departments. I was assigned to the paint department, which actually was really cool, and I will continue to brag to this day that by the time I quit that job, I was able to carry one 5-gallon drum of paint in each hand, and I was ripped. Well, I was a little fat, but I had a lot of muscle. Not ripped per se, but I was very muscular, and that was cool. But over the course of my life, I've had a lot of down periods, as well as very high periods. And I've learned, sometimes the hard way, that none of us really are entitled to anything, really. One could say that really the only thing we're entitled to is to not be harmed by other people. Other than that, I don't really believe society necessarily owes any of us anything. Nor do I think we owe society anything per se, other than to not do harm to others and generally be good people, morally good people. And this brings me back to what I've been seeing on social media. And not just the VTubing space, but, I'm going to pick on the VTubing space here because that's what I'm getting into now. There's a lot of independent VTubers, and I am one. I'm an independent as well. Most of us are. A lot of independent VTubers, in my humble opinion, they complain and they whine and they cry and they ask the world, why is my channel not bigger? Why am I not more popular? Why did this girl blow up overnight and I've been doing this for 10 years and I barely have an audience and blah, 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 and this and that. Well, I don't know what these people have been through in their life that are causing them to think that way, to have what I think is quite honestly a mind virus, but I've been through a lot of struggles. A lot that I'm not going to bring up in this video. Maybe in the future I'll talk about them. But I look at this from a completely different point of view. In fact, currently, as I record this, I have 36 followers on Twitch, which is clearly it's not a lot, obviously. I just barely, within literally the last week, I have been blessed to now average 2 viewers per stream, which really technically I think is only 1 per stream because it counts myself as a viewer. I think if I'm understanding things correctly, I think that's how it works. So I'm basically averaging 1 person who's not me watching my stream every time I go live on Twitch. And you know what? I couldn't be any more happy. I mean, just thinking about it, honestly, quite honestly, brings a tear to my eye. Actually, it brings tears to both of my eyes. Because it blows my mind that there are people out there in this world that actually want to hear what I talk about, that actually care enough about me and my message, and find me apparently entertaining enough to watch my video game streams and talk with me, to hang out with me, chit chat about life or anything really. I mean, I'm very much into spirituality as well. I mean, I'll talk about anything. I think this YouTube channel is going to be a lot more serious in terms of content versus my Twitch streams, which usually are just me goofing around, having fun, enjoying life. But it really just humbles me. And it's truly an honor and a privilege that there's people out there that want to watch my streams and chat with me and interact with me. And of course, I want to grow. Anyone who does this wants to grow. But I don't want to take it for granted like I think some people are. I don't know where this is going to lead me. I don't know where I'll be 5 years from now, how large my channel will be, if I'll even, if I'm going to be well known or not at that point in time in the future. I don't know, but regardless of how big I become or how small I remain, I don't want to forget where I came from. And I don't want to take you for granted. Every single one of my followers is special to me, and I don't want to take them for granted. Also, at the time of this recording, I have 3 followers on my YouTube page, and I'm pretty sure I know all 3 of them in real life, so, which is great. I'm very thankful that my friends that I know want to support me and watch my videos. But as of right now, no offense, but no random person is following me yet on YouTube, and I'm sure that'll come eventually. And when it does, I don't want to take that for granted either. When I was in college, before I graduated college, I was very, very big into sports, as I'm sure most men are when you're that age. I spent a brief time working for our school newspaper as a sports reporter, and at the time, it was my dream to make a sports podcast, and I had a friend, and we had this idea that we were gonna make this awesome podcast, and we literally did one recording, posted it. I don't know if you can even find it on the internet. I don't even remember what it was called, so I don't know how I would go about even attempting to find it. But needless to say, we recorded one podcast, which I thought actually turned out really good, really well. But then for whatever reason, it died. I forgot the circumstances. It's been so long ago, but the dream died. I've been on the radio a couple times as well, doing radio spots, and that was really fun. And I've even pitched ideas back and forth with friends over the years, friends who are also more creative, into the arts like I am. Just things never really came to fruition, never worked out. But that's another thing about life. I believe in divine timing. I believe that's real. And just sometimes, maybe we know our life purpose, but we're just not ready for it yet. I don't know why, but it just is what it is. I don't know why it's taken me so long, but here I am. And this is what I want to do. I want to share my life story, bring inspiration to those who feel down, and just inject some positivity into our world. And I strongly feel that that's my goal. That's my life's purpose. And that's what I want to do with this YouTube channel and with my Twitch streaming. And I thank you all for being here on my journey as it goes on, as I walk the path. I mentioned earlier that I'm a very spiritual guy. I have dabbled in different religions throughout my life. I grew up as a Christian. Then I left Christianity because it just really wasn't working for me. And then I eventually studied Buddhism and practiced Buddhism for a couple of years of my life. I do not practice Buddhism anymore, but I do believe strongly that Buddhism is more right than others. Although it's hard to even call Buddhism a religion, in my opinion, it's really more a way of thinking. But I bring that up because before I end this video, I want to read a passage. It's one of my favorite Zen stories ever that I've read. This comes from the book Zen Flesh, Zen Bones, which you can find online and in the stores. It is a collection of Zen writings. I don't know if you can call them poems, but it's a collection of Zen writings that have been preserved and passed down over the years. You know, Zen Buddhism, I don't believe really has a definitive text, so to speak. But there's Zen stories that have been passed down, and this book has a lot of those stories, and I want to read you guys one of my favorites. It's titled, "The Moon Cannot Be Stolen." So here's the story. It goes, Ryokan, a Zen master, lived the simplest kind of life in a little hut at the foot of a mountain. One evening, a thief visited the hut only to discover there was nothing in it to steal. Ryokan returned and caught him. Quote, "You may have come a long way to visit me," he told the prowler, "and you should not return empty-handed. Please take my clothes as a gift." The thief was bewildered. He took the clothes and slunk away. Ryokan sat naked, watching the moon. He said, "Poor fellow," he mused. "I wish I could have given him this beautiful moon." And that's the end of the story. You see, the thief, just like most of us in this life, are only worried about the material aspects, the material possessions in this world, in this life. The thief was disappointed because what are you supposed to steal from a monk that really has no possessions? In fact, the monk is so kind, has so much loving kindness in his heart. He gave him his clothes. He gave the thief his clothes. But see, what the monk realized, that the thief, and many of us don't, is that's not what's actually important in this life. I believe what's important are the memories that we have, the relationships that we have, and things that really aren't things at all. Not material things. See, the monk was sitting, meditating, looking at this beautiful moon, and whenever I imagine this in my head, I think of a really dark night and a full, bright, white moon. And I just imagine how beautiful that is. How beautiful, how peaceful. That's life. That's life, guys. And you know what? For all the amazing possessions and privileges that I have, that's not what really matters. What matters are the moments that I have, the day-to-day moments, the hour-by-hour, minute-to-minute moments. You know, it's the really amazing, pleasant conversation that I had with a coworker a couple days ago. I may not remember a whole lot about what I did on that day at work, but I'll never forget that conversation that I had with my coworker and how we really connected just on a human and personal and spiritual level. And you know, that also reminds me of a quote that I can never get out of my head from my favorite movie of all time, The Last Samurai. Yes, the movie with Tom Cruise that for some reason people want to hate on, but it's my all-time favorite movie, and I really don't think any movie will ever surpass it in my heart. But at the end, when Katsumoto is dying and is about to commit seppuku with the help of Captain Nathan Algren, Nathan Algren, sorry, Tom Cruise's character. Right before he's about to help him commit seppuku, he tells Katsumoto, I will miss our conversations. Because Captain Algren knew what that Zen monk knew, which is what I try to remind myself every single day of my life. That all of these privileges can be taken away. But no one can ever take away the beauty of life, the memories we hold, and the moments yet to come. Thank you very much for listening to me here. If you like my story, I encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and watch future videos. If you want something a little less serious and a little more fun, please watch me on Twitch. I'll have the link in the description. My Twitch channel is the Grizz 013. I hope you all have a blessed day, and I hope to see you again. Please comment. Let me know what you thought of my story. How do you interpret humility and entitlement? What do you think about privilege? What do you think about what I said? Please let me know. I hope to see you again soon. Thank you, guys.